selection issues are obviously their issues, and I'm sure they'd be quite happy to get on with that. But on balance, after Brisbane, would you be happier facing an Australian attack with Mitchell Johnson still in it?
Look, I don't think that's for me to answer, to be honest with you. Mitchell's been a very good performer for Australia over a number of years and has been spearheading their attack. So it's quite a big call for them to leave him out. But, it's not something that concerns us. We've got to be ready for whoever might take his place and make sure that we've got plans in place to counteract them. But generally focusing on the opposition too much is pretty unhelpful.
One point that Mitchell actually raised here a couple of hours ago was that the lack of Australian support, especially on that final day in Brisbane. And I wonder if you, as England players, acknowledge the significance of that. It felt like such an English atmosphere in that last game.
Yeah, it was outstanding. The support of the Barmy Army was outstanding, and I think they come a long way to support us, and they like nothing more than to see England play well, and that's obviously what we did in the second half of that game. There'll be plenty more here this week, and if we can get off to a good start and get them in good cheer, then that always has a slightly demoralising effect on the opposition.
Yeah. Andrew, as a batsman, it's always nice to bat a bowler out of the attack. You effectively batted Mitchell Johnson out of the team. That must give the team a good feeling.
Yeah, it does, but it's like all these things. You can't worry about what's happened already too much, or you can't get sidetracked by it, because this is a new set of circumstances, different conditions. It's going to be a slightly different bowling attack, and you've got to be prepared to play what's ahead of you and not behind you. So the theme of our preparation has been very much one of making sure we keep our feet on the ground and realise that it's 0-0 in the series. We haven't achieved anything in this series yet, and if we do want to achieve something, we've got to steel ourselves for another very tough 5 days of cricket.
Are you expecting to make any changes, or have you picked your team for tomorrow?
No, we always pick the team on the morning of the game. So generally we're happy with the majority of the performances at Brisbane, but we'll see how we go in the morning.
Were you frustrated with how you guys didn't get to train outside yesterday and with how the nets weren't covered?
No, not overly. I mean, I would say that they looked after us really well in the warm-up game here in Adelaide. They've gone out of their way to help us as much as possible. So, it was just one of those situations where it was raining and they had to get the covers on. It's not something that, that I was particularly concerned about, to be honest.
Are you expecting a Dow wicket like Brisbane up there, or do you think that there might be a bigger lead?
I don't know. I mean, it just gave me the impression of being a little bit harder and a bit more grass than the last time we played here, so it might go through a bit, but it looks like a very even surface. So I think normal service will be resumed for Adelaide, which is batting first innings, you've got to get the majority of runs then, and then the second half of the game it gets a bit trickier to bat on.
I think Swan's the trump card here, especially Adelaide's such a spin wicket, especially late in the test.
Yeah, potentially, definitely. I mean, we've seen him on wickets that have helped him in the past. He's been threatening for all batsmen, and there's no reason to assume that'll be any different. But as you say, any turn or help that there is for spinners tends to come very much on day 4 and 5 rather than the first half of the game.
Kevin Peterson has some comments to make about the groundsman's failure to cover the nets like our good friend Twitter. Is that helpful, bearing in mind you are guests here and generally the people are trying to look after you the best they can?
Yeah, look, I think Kevin was just frustrated because he wanted to have a long bat yesterday, and he wasn't able to do that. So he vented a bit of frustration. It's not something that we want to get overly dragged into, to be honest.
It does raise the whole question of this tweeting business.
It does. We've got a set of guidelines for our players, and we fully expect them to adhere to those guidelines as much as possible.
Are you going to do it? Would you prefer that they dish on that?
I wouldn't prefer all of our players to be exactly like me, though. It would be a pretty boring dressing room. So look, everyone's different, and a lot of the guys really enjoy it, and it is a good way of broadening the appeal of the game. There's no doubt about it. It allows players to be in contact with people that support the game. So there's some real benefits to it, but it has to be used responsibly, and by and large it has been. we need to make sure that we don't have any more incidences of the likes of what we've seen previously.
How do you say about guidelines? Did Kevin Pearson cross the line there? You sound pathetic.
No, he didn't. But it was, obviously they're kind of degrees of everything, and we don't want anything that distracts our attention from what's important, which is getting on the cricket pitch and performing.
Can you just outline what those guidelines are?
No, it's something that will stay in-house.
You must have realised that comments like that, it's a very public forum, they're going to have serious implications.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't think he realised it when he put it on there. I think he was just frustrated. But as I said before, all I can say is that the groundsmen and authorities at Adelaide have looked after us exceptionally well. We've got no qualms with them whatsoever, and we're interested in competing well in this Test match.
Andrew, I know that the 2006 last day here is a long way in the past, but can you tell us what you learned, what you took out of that experience in that tour? I think John Trott mentioned yesterday, was mentioned before the final morning in
Yeah, well, I think what it proved to us is that anything's possible in the game of cricket, and Australia sniffed a chance of victory and took that chance, and we kind of conspired in our own downfall, really. So, you need to learn from those sort of experiences. I think we have learned from it, but to expect the match to go in a similar way this time would be wrong, really. I think a very different set of players. And once you've been through that, you'll be making sure you don't get in that situation again. So it was a long time ago. It was obviously a bit of a kick in the teeth at the time, but a lot of things have moved on since then.
Andrew, in your first couple of Ashes series, the Australian side more or less picked itself. Is it encouraging for England that they now seem to be less certain about what the best 11 is and stopping and changing a bit more, which is historically something England sides?
Yeah, I mean, my experience playing international cricket is a lack of stability is not a good thing when you're not sure what your best 11 is. It means people are generally a bit concerned about their place in the side. So in that sense, that's a good thing for us. But I think we've got to be just slightly wary of the guys that they've got in their squad at the moment. They're good performers. They've had a lot of success in Test cricket, so it's not like they're dragging someone from obscurity. We've got to be good enough to contend with them.
Andrew, responding to saying that it's always about first wicket here, but history tends to suggest that the team that bowls first actually wins more often than it loses. I mean, is that something that you're aware of, and is something that factors in tomorrow?
We've got all sorts of stats on the Adelaide Oval, yes. So, generally it is about first wicket, to be honest with you, because it gives you control of the game. But there have been plenty of instances of, obviously, side batting first and getting a big score, and that being counteracted by another big score batting second. So I don't think it's one of these wickets where the toss is massively important, to be honest with you. Like Brisbane, like most wickets actually, the side that plays the best cricket are going to have the best chance of winning the game.
Jim, thanks. How do you think the decision review system is working? Any changes to improve?
Well, I was never a big fan of it when it came in. I didn't like the fact that players were involved in the decision-making process. But I think we've all got more used to it now, and generally we're getting more decisions right as a result of it. So that is a good thing. I mean, there's still that argument that the umpires could be allowed to ask for reviews themselves. But as it is, it's working more often than not. We've got to be smart in knowing which ones to review and which ones not to, and that's always quite a tough thing because you don't have the benefit of replays and hindsight. So the captains have got to be a bit clever when to review and when not to. Yeah, but there are limits to technology, clearly. I mean, that's the thing. Nothing's going to be 100% foolproof, but if we're getting more decisions right, then you should use it. If you're getting closer to 100% right, then that can only be a good thing. So there are going to be times when we're frustrated by it, but you learn to live with these things, just in the same way that you learn to live with umpires that gave the odd decision that wasn't right previously. It's the same sort of principle.
Do you think it's right then that you should be penalised for having a legitimate appeal that the technology can't support?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just the way it is at the moment. I think you've got to realise that over time these things will be tinkered with one way or another. But you play within the parameters that are put in front of you. So when you're deciding to review a decision, as it stands at the moment, you've got to be pretty sure that it's out. And even the odd one that you think you're absolutely certain is out is inconclusive, and that's the way of life.
Is it a matter of being sure that the technology will support the decision rather than...
Well, you've got to be a bit clever on it, yeah. But ultimately, it doesn't win or lose you a test match generally. There's always been the odd good decision from an umpire, the odd bad decision. If you keep creating enough chances, then you'll take wickets in the end.
Just finally, Andrew, is everyone available with this person?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.